Hey YouTube, what's up? We're back again this week for another episode of Three Simple Men making their way through the galaxy. I'm Tom, with me is Ryan and Mike, and this week we're still in the Clone Wars Season 1, Episode 15, titled Trespass. And boys, this episode, it gave me Empire Strikes Back vibes.
It's got a lot of new stuff in it, right? We got a new planet, two new species, but then we get a lot of old familiarity. We get a final return of an on-screen appearance by our favorite duo, R2D2 and C3PO, are both in this episode. Plus, we also
Oh, Mike.
we also have Obi-Wan and Anakin. So a couple fun duos, but yeah, Mike has a very appropriate background because we start off on, though it's not that planet, another quite snowy planet.
Ordo Plutonia.
Yes.
Well, yeah, they mentioned it in the opening monologue.
And we get the fun. Well, with the opening monologue, we get the opening quote or the moral of the episode. In this case, it was arrogance diminishes wisdom, which I thought was pretty good for the episode. But right off the bat, we get kind of some of our fun Obi-Wan, Anakin banter or whatever, where when they land on this snow-covered planet. I believe Obi-Wan says, and this is their tropical zone, which I thought was just kind of a funny little line.
I mean, we talk about you said two species. So let's just talk about the species in general.
Yeah. Well, so I guess a little behind the scenes of how we do these episodes. We sit right before we record and we watch the episode. Hopefully, you probably have deduced that as fans. But you might notice if you've been watching that our shirts change every episode. But I cycle mine through, so it's the same pattern more or less. Not knowing what this episode was before I put the shirt on, I'm actually wearing a shirt with the species, just a complete coincidence. But this is the Talz species, Talz. My shirt actually has Muftak on it. Muftak was first seen in the cantina of Mos Eisley in Star Wars: A New Hope. So thought that was, so
Also,
I've had the shirt for a while, and
I was gonna
obviously
say, since you brought up tropical,
there you go. And you happen to have your, yeah. So it was just a kind of a funny coincidence there. But it's cool. Another great thing. I mean, probably my favorite thing about the Clone Wars series is that it gave us deeper looks into these different species that we only, Muftak, the original Taos, was just sitting in the corner of the cantina, I think having a drink, and maybe looks up when the music stops. And he was like a throwaway character, but just a fun use of, the animatronics and the puppets and everything that they did when they built this world originally from in a bar scene. And then Clone Wars blows the galaxy up so much where we actually get to meet one where these people are from, which is nothing like Tatooine, as Anakin even mentions. Um, but kind of a cool. It's really cool that we get to go deeper into these characters that were, and I wonder what, like, the guy who designed the character and put together the puppet, if if he's still alive, if he happened to see, like, wow, that character that I threw into the corner of the bar when I made my Luke or my Muppets or whatever they are, is now has a whole species and a whole backstory, sort of. Sorry, I'm rambling, but
no,
I think
no.
it's really cool. It's what makes these kind of.
Then we're gonna also talk about the other species as well.
Yeah, the Pantorians.
Yeah,
Mantorans, yep.
and I don't know if I'm gonna step into your area, Mike, with a little deep dive, but this is the same species that get a little ahead of myself. But in episode 3
I
is
think I know where you're going.
Revenge of the Sith. George Lucas actually played as a representation of that species in the opera scene where Anakin's running up.
Oh,
Yep.
cool. It'll be
Yeah.
fun to see.
Yeah, I don't think that was like name dropped or anything, but yeah, you're right. They're just hanging out outside the executives uh room where Palpatine's sitting, and yeah, Anakin runs by them, and like you said, it's a cameo of George Lucas. So uh, definitely a nice. Yeah, again, to Ryan's point, you see this one species, and now they have like an entire galaxy or backstory or planet, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, unfortunately, I mean, we get another harsh reality of war, and not necessarily Republic but versus separatists, but we're seeing the civilized versus the uncivilized. But you can't really, and you got this chairman who's very cocky and like, oh, I've been through this, like these they're savages or they have
You know
no
what?
place on this planet, and just yeah, it's just and
You know
then
what this guy reminded me of? It's like his arrogance, his cockiness about this is our planet, and his this is like a historical thing. This guy believes in the idea of manifest destiny. Like this is our planet, we control everything. And pardon my language, but the guy's a fucking dickhead.
yeah,
But I
it's
mean, and you know, Mike, you said like the civilized versus uncivilized. Like realistically, you know, who are the civilized here, right? The Tals, after sitting down and having a conversation with some strange Jedi that show up, end up leaving with a hug and you know making friends, making ally, being civilized. And then you have Chairman Chi Cho of the Pantora, who's supposed to be the civilized group, just being like, nope, it's war. We need to fight them. We need to, you know, this is that's it, and not even willing to sit down at a table and have a discussion or around a fire.
When
yeah,
when that scene happened, you know what that came thought popped in my head? Remember watching the movie Pocahontas?
yeah,
Yeah,
The,
that's
the,
exactly
the
what
guy who
it is.
took control, savages, savages, barely even human.
Yeah, no. You want to
yeah.
get
I mean, you couldn't have put that any better. But yeah, no, unfortunately, we got him like being, this is uninhabited planet. This is under my jurisdiction, and you really see this overlap of like, this is Pantora's problem. What can the Jedi Council do to step in this? What can the Senator do? So you really have like three different things going on all at once, and unfortunately, you have a real dimwit who's the chairman of Pantora, and he's like, oh, well, savages, let's go to war. And just like, no, there's got to be a more diplomatic approach. And ultimately, they were able to find the loophole where they can get, I think it was like the Pantoran Senate. It's like, yeah, this guy's out
Or
of
the
line and
house, I believe, or something like that.
you're in
Chair
charge.
of the
Assembly. Yeah.
yeah.
So, like, their Congress or whatever political equivalent you want to call it. But yeah, it's just, they had to step in, just like, yeah, he's out of line. And I think they were like name dropping like certain, I don't know like what it is, but it's like, oh, this convention of independent systems, or they were like name dropping a couple things, and you just get these different references, like again specifying what they can or can't do.
Then we got also Senator Chuchi who's involved, and she's the more reasonable one because as we watch the episode, she's using logic and reason. Where it's just like, how do you know it's a separatist with the troopers, being killed? There's no blasters. There's no signs of droid debris in this battle. It's just clones. There's nothing. So it's not separatists.
So, just to go off on a tangent, I just kind of found it interesting that they're Pantora, right? And they're blue people, and
Pandora.
this reminds us of Pocahontas, and Avatar, by James Cameron is, you know, the planet's Pandora, and they're blue people, and James Cameron is not creative at all and stole his entire story from Pocahontas. Um, I don't know. Maybe he stole it from this too. That's why he decided they were blue. He was like, "Oh, maybe
Well,
maybe from this episode." I think he's a hack. All right, sorry. Going moving forward.
Titanic sucked.
Um, but we also get probably maybe Mike, stop me if I'm stealing your deep dive, but uh I'll throw up a softball if it is your deep dive. Did anyone recognize the voice of Chairman Chi Cho?
No, go for it.
So I did. I was like, it sounds familiar. So the actor is Brian George, who's voiced many characters. He will not just in the Clone Wars, but in many other things. But I think he's most famous for portraying a lovable restaurant owner in Seinfeld named Babu. So
Abu!
the voice of Chairman Chai Chow is Brian George, who also plays Babu, the restaurant owner who Jerry Seinfeld basically ruins the life of by trying to give him advice. Yeah, that's it, the finger wag. So when I saw that, I was like, "Who is this?" And sure enough, it's Babu. So that was
Love a good
fun,
episode of
fun
Seinfeld.
little fun little deep dive I noticed, or Easter egg I picked up on. Um, what else we got? I do have a quote. I don't know if we want to get into that yet, but anybody else have anything on the episode?
I mean, we're just continue with the story. I mean, we're talking about, now that he wants war, we're doing all this. I guess my hot take is more of like Rex should have just been like, when we saw the chairman get a spear in his shoulder and he's down bad. I mean, folks, this dude is not only an idiot, but he's just out there getting himself killed.
Yeah, I mean
Rex
it
picks
is.
him
It's a
up.
mortal wound, right?
Yeah, and Rex picks him up, and Rex should have been like, I was supposed to protect you. You couldn't even protect yourself. Hot take, should have left the fucking dude. You should have just left him, like, let's just bail out.
Yeah, it was definitely
Um,
interesting that Anakin was like, "Oh yeah, you guys all have to go protect him." And he's just like attack. And luckily, they didn't attack first, right? Uh,
Yeah.
they said it was going to be war. In their defense, he wanted the clones to attack, and they said no. But then we did get the line that I wanted an episode or two ago, maybe three. We got the "it's a trap," said by Chairman Chai Chow, but it was very quick. He said, "It's a trap. Fire on them or kill them," or I think he said kill them, but very quickly. Um, but yeah, we get a pretty fun battle chase scene. Spears versus blasters, and Spears win.
and not to mention the speeder bikes or versus the Beast, and I think the Beast clearly won with the way they were knocking them out too. So yeah, just primitive versus advanced. I mean, yeah, unfortunately, blasters aren't going to solve everything, and ultimately, in the end, we see Senator Chuchi rising up and negotiating the peace treaty and recognizing their sovereignty. So it's a
I mean,
nice way for the episode to end, but how it got there, unfortunately, yeah, just not the way to go. And even after getting that wound, is like, oh, and my final avenge me. It's like, no, you idiot. Like we're gonna use, like you said, Tom, we're gonna use logic and we're gonna solve this the peaceful way.
yeah, avenge me. Avenge me. These are my dying was okay. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Yeah, no. Now go die. Go sleep. Go night night. Bye bye.
So we do get that kind of negotiation or peace talks. And we get the quote that I wrote down from Senator Chuchi. To die for one's people is a great sacrifice. To live for one's people is a greater sacrifice. And it instantly jumped out into my mind because it reminded me of, and this is again going off on a tangent, but it reminded me of actually one of my favorite quotes of all time from a novel I'm sure we all read back in high school, from Catcher in the Rye. And the line is, "The mark of an immature man is one that wants to die for a cause. The mark of a mature man is one that wants to live honorable no, sorry, wants to live humbly for that cause." So it was just kind of a very similar quote. I think they're kind of referencing it here. Um, but yeah, I noticed that, and I'm a weirdo and have old book quotes that I always remember, and that for some reason always stuck out to me when I was
All
in
right. I mean, we've been
so.
doing a lot of references to history, so it's all good. Speaking of quotes, I don't know if you guys caught it. We got another Anakin. I think we got an Anakin quote that he says, "Most impressive."
Yeah,
Ah,
foreshadowing. Yeah.
nice, very nice. Most impressive.
Absolutely. It was a very going back to that battle quickly. I think this is just, I guess we're talking history too. It's just like it's historically speaking, home field advantage wins.
Yep.
We saw it. America during Vietnam. We saw it with when the Russians invaded Afghanistan and back in the 80s. It's like the people who know their element in their home planet the best.
Yeah. And these guys are like popping out of the snow constantly. So I don't
Yeah.
know if they're
Yeah.
swimming under the snow or if they are tunneling. I mean, I didn't really get it. I mean, they seem to be popping out of the snow sometimes, like right up on them. So I don't know if it's the
And
beat.
riding those blue saber-toothed tiger things that look like
Yeah.
creatures from Hellboy.
I
Mhm.
I did notice, or also I think, is this our first time seeing the clone troopers in these kind of cool
Yes,
like
there's
Yeah, there's
snow
snow gear.
gear?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
nice Empire Strikes Back throwback.
I
Yeah.
will say I didn't really like the fact that it made Rex look like he had multiple chins.
Yeah, because the whole helmet just
He's like yeah.
almost, they almost remind me of the which we haven't seen yet, but the Imperial Guard,
Oh, the Royal Guard.
the Royal Guard, eventually we'll see, kind of had the same style, not the same color, but definitely kind of the
Oh,
same style almost of like the helmet going almost like a poncho.
Mhm.
oh yeah.
All right. Anybody got anything else?
No, no, I'm good.
Think
All
we
right, Mike.
think we covered everything. So that's a wrap. Thank you everyone for joining Three Simple Men making their way through the galaxy. Hit that like, comment, and subscribe, and come back next week for some more Clone Wars content and also for more exciting things for 2024. If we haven't wished you this already, Happy New Year, and may the force be with you always. Beep, boop, beep.